Hello, my name is Allison Fink, and today I'd like to talk to you about Paul's doctrine regarding adoption. The title verse I've chosen to study this is from Ephesians 1:5, where it says, "He predestined us for adoption to himself as sons through Jesus Christ, according to the purpose of his will." So this shows that God willed for us to be his children, and that Jesus Christ is the way that we were adopted into God's family. The word for adoption here is suiathesia in Greek, which refers to, quote, those who turn to Christianity and are accepted by God as his sons, end quote. So this means that we are accepted by God and we become his children by becoming Christians. However, adoption means something deeper to the Roman world than it does in our modern world. So in the Roman world, adoption would mean that the person was freely chosen with no possibility of being disowned. It was not uncommon for the father figure of a family to disown his children for any reason. He didn't even have to justify it. However, if a child was adopted, then that right to disown was taken away from the father. So once he chose that child to be his, he could not change his mind later. Additionally, adoption was seen to be just as strong as blood relations. Adopted children were not seen as second-class citizens in any way. It was just as good as being a blood relation to their father. And thirdly, adoption means given a new identity. So whoever was adopted would become a complete new member of this new family. They would be given a new name. They'd be given a new inheritance. Everything would be brand new, just like they were a completely new person. They were also made a share in their father's possessions and wealth even before the death of the father. So they didn't even have to wait to become heirs to what the father owned. They would have participation in their father's wealth long before his father passed away. And so this was an immediate inheritance that they got as soon as they were adopted. So this brings some significant points to our understanding of adoption in Christianity. First of all, it shows that God chose us freely. We weren't somebody that was born to God's family where he just had to kind of put up with us. God intentionally chose us to be his children. As a result of being his children, we have full rights to all of his resources. We don't have to wait to be able to be having his blessings. We can have them now. We are fully equipped to share in what God has given us. We're also not second-class citizens. We are just as good as if we were born into God's family like Jesus was. So we have the same amount of love and the same amount of inheritance as Jesus does. And so we are able to do everything that Jesus entrusted us to do. Additionally, we know that God will never disown us. We don't ever have to feel like God is going to get rid of us or just turn us away because he chose us freely, and so he's not going to change his mind on us. And most importantly, adoption gives us a brand new identity. We no longer have to be defined by sin or a past. We are defined by being part of God's family. Our whole bloodline has been changed, and we are now part of his family and his righteousness, and we are like him, and we get our identity from him. And so this key term of adoption really transforms how we should live our lives, and that we should see ourselves as royalty, that we should move forward in full awareness that we have everything that we need and that God is truly our Father. Now, Paul got these ideas from Jesus. So Jesus taught that God was his Father in John 10, and Jesus actually said that he was one with the Father. I and my Father are one. And so he is both our brother and our Father because he is one with God the Father himself. Jesus promised in John 14, just before he was crucified, he said, "I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you." And so he sees that we look to him. We look to him to be our Father, and so he is not going to leave us. He even made it very clear in Matthew 23:9. It says, "And call no man your father on earth, for you have one Father who is in heaven." And so Jesus made it incredibly clear that our Father is God, and we have the right to be called his sons once we begin to trust in Jesus. This has a lot of impact to our modern life. First of all, we don't have to feel guilty about sin because that has been saved by the blood of Jesus, and we are now new people. We should also not just see God as our master that we need to follow, but as a father that we love and look to him and trust him rather than see him as a hard or unkind person. We should also feel free to ask him for whatever we need. We shouldn't feel guilty to ask him for help or for blessing or for wisdom because he has adopted us and he is not going to disown us. And lastly, worry is just illogical. It doesn't make sense to worry about the things that happen in everyday life because God is our Father and he has promised to take care of us. And so this concept of adoption is key to the modern life and also key to understanding who God is. Thank you.